Go back to object mode on our calculator. This time I'm going to select the border that's going around our two windows. So let me zoom in here. Go to face selection mode. Oh, I don't want those. What I'm doing is I'm using my paint select tool. If you've never used that before, you can click on it and you'll see a red circle that tells you how big your paintbrush is. To adjust it, press and hold down the letter B and middle mouse drag left and right to adjust the size of your paintbrush. And what that does, it just allows you to click and drag to paint. Actually, let's make that a little bigger and just don't worry if you select some faces that you didn't want to select, because you can deselect those by holding down the control button and then painting, and it gets rid of it. So if I hold down the control button and then paint, it deselects faces. So I want those, and I also want these over here. It might actually be easier to do these with the just selecting on them. There we go. And actually, I'm going to select these inside ones too. I know I won't. I don't want to make it any more harder than we need to. Let me control and then deselect those. And looks like it's all good. Oh, looks like I got one more. Control deselect. Okay, once you get all those faces selected, do the same thing. Go to create UVs, planar mapping. Now we got our map. I'm going to go to F8 just to go to object mode. Open up my UV texture editor again. Go over to our grid, and there's our, again, it's not facing the correct way. So I'm going to right click, select UV, shift click on all these, and rotate. There we go. It looks like I had some other faces selected possibly, but that's okay. All we're doing is going to be adding a color, so we don't need to adjust any UVs. They're fine just like they are. So I'm going to select those, all of those, get my scale tool, just scale those down. Now we can make these any size we want to. They don't have to be the exact size. They could actually, if you wanted, they could actually be really huge. Alright, now that we've got all those, I'm going to select all of our UVs, and now I'm going to move them back over to that top right hand corner. Let me maximize this. There we go. And I just want to fit all of these inside that square. I'll select these, move those down. Now see, that's not going to fit in there, it's too big, so I'm just going to shrink it down. There we go. I'll select these up here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to shrink it down. Alright, so there's our UVs. Now we need to take a picture of this. There we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here, go to object mode, and now that it's selected in object mode, I'm going to go to my UV texture editor window, go to polygons, go down to the bottom and click on UV snapshot. This little dialog box opens up. It asks for a file name, basically that's a location and name. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click the browse button next to it. I'm going to browse to my desktop and I'm going to save it on there, and I will call this let's see, calculator UV snapshot. Size, if we were doing this for like a video game or something, you wouldn't want to go over 256 by 256 because the higher the resolution is of the textures, you figure a game's got a lot of textures in it. The more higher resolution, the harder it's going to be on your computer when you're trying to play a game. So if you're doing this for a game, you'd want something really low like 256 by 256. But since we're not doing it for a game, we could actually make that any size we wanted to. We could make it really huge or really small, but 512 by 512 should be fine for this project. I'm going to scroll down. There's an image format, TIFF. I just always use TIFF. It holds information like transparency and such, so it's just a good overall image format to use. So I'm going to leave everything like it is. It's going to go to my desktop, click OK, and now we just save the picture of this UV map onto our desktop. So I'm going to close that out. We're pretty much done. I'm going to minimize that. Actually, we're not done. We did the face, we got to do the buttons now. So let me hide that layer. I'm going to bring our buttons layer, and I'm just going to do the same thing with our buttons selected. Create UVs, planar mapping, go to object mode, open our UV texture editor, and I'm going to rotate these. Let's see, right click, UV, select all the UVs, and rotate those around. And looks like it's a little more taller than wider, so I'm just going to bring those in a little bit. So something about like that. And since there's nothing else that we're going to be separating from it, I'm just going to leave it right there inside that quadrant because we're not going to be separating any other UVs. So I can just do a snapshot. So I'm going to go over here and make sure I'm in object mode, select my buttons, go over here, polygon, UV snapshot. I'm going to go to my desktop again, and I'll call this calc buttons UV snapshot. 512, image format, TIFF, OK, and now we got a picture of this on our desktop as well. Close that out. I can bring everything back now. And that concludes this part of our tutorial. In the next section, we'll import our UV texture, our UV maps into a photo editing software, and then we'll create some textures for it. Thanks for watching.